cats, like an alley cat at your park. But now I gotta do your part. I got a day job and a night job and an interview at 5. You've gotten rid of both boyfriends and you've given me the green light. I got a day job and a night job and an afternoon away. You just waved a hand and we're engaged, you say. I've been up since 4 a.m. and finishing this at midnight. After this thing I should sell it and call it quits when the getting's good. I took a night at your new club today to take a break away from the rats. But now I got your locker stool and your car keys in my cart. I pick up the pieces left on the floor while you walk away like you don't care no more. I'm tired of cleaning every mess you make, slowly losing patience with every break. Every promise broken never leads to change. I'm the one who's always left rearranged. Your lack of effort shows clear as the day. I'll be sweeping you out when I find my way. Hey, hey, I'm the cleanup crew, fixing your mess just like it's new. Hey, hey, won't be here long, cleaning house, I'm moving on. Watching you take credit for the work I do, every single task I pull double through. Your empty words no longer faze me. Soon enough your history, just wait and see. Where's the spark, the dedication gone? I'm carrying weight, dragging us along. No more excuses, your time is past. This sweeps your fate, I'll make it last. Hey, hey, I'm the cleanup crew, fixing your mess just like it's new. Hey, hey, won't be here long, cleaning house, I'm moving on.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. How is everyone doing today? Tonight, ethical hacking, we're going to be hopefully finishing up our unit test for our port scanner so we can wrap that up and move along. I am Tekodroff. We are engineered to win. Or as some might say, I, Tekodroff, annoy you to success. Whatever the case may be, I will happily take it as long as you are continually getting better day by day, minute by minute. My goal is to see you just a little bit more successful than you were the day before, the minute before, all of that good stuff. So let's get it. All right. We're going to be, like I said, we're going to be continuing working on our port scanner unit test. But before we jump into that, we got to take care of some housekeeping. So welcome. Tonight is Thursday. Yes, Thursday, May 22nd. This weekend, on Monday, is Memorial Day. And then comes June. We are just about done with 2025 already. It feels like it just started. And the year is zooming. Do you guys ever notice as you get older, time moves by a lot faster? When I was a kid, a year would feel like an eternity. Now that we're older, it just zooms by like, what? What's going on here? But guess what? It is our opportunity to focus, to be laser, because as time is going faster, we have to be super duper focused. All right. So we're going to get into our agenda and then we will get into the show. All right. So first and foremost for tonight, I have got to say a big thank you to all of the subscribers to the channel. Those who are brand new, shout out to those who have just signed up. We've been growing rapidly over the past couple of weeks. And shout out to those who have been with me for a very, very long time from day one when I'm still nobody, but when I was even more of a nobody and who have stuck with me throughout. Thank you so much to all of you guys, those who watch from the clouds and those who are active in the chat and in the comments. I appreciate every last one of you.
I appreciate you.
Shout out to all of the Tech Coach Ralph Patreon members, those who allow me to pour so much value into you. Shout out to my tech barbarians, my tech prodigy members, my technical explorers, all of you guys who work so hard day in and day out, just trying to win, trying to be successful. We are the best.
We the best.
And shout out to those tech mercenaries. Those are the YouTube members of the channel who allow me to be here online day in and day out, supporting me on YouTube. Thank you so, so much for allowing me to add value into your lives as well. Let's get it.
Let's get it.
All right. Upcoming shows. We have the Bug Bite tomorrow. We are going to be talking about a $400 million bill for the biggest crypto exchange. Whew. Were you affected by it? It's going to be absolutely crazy. You want to tune in tomorrow as we premiere it at noon Eastern time. I will be in the chat just as shocked as you are. What really happened? And on Sunday, we're going to be going live with more software explorations. We're going to be getting back into DevOps. Last week, we had a slight pivot where we installed N8N on a Google Cloud Platform Kubernetes cluster. And that was fun. And I'm going to show you a little bit of stuff that I did with N8N installed locally here through Docker. We also did that this past Sunday, and I was using it this morning for a project. I'm going to show you a little bit about that as well before we get into our first working segment. But I just wanted to highlight that. Really, N8N, pretty cool. I have to keep looking into other platforms that are like it, but really cool stuff. All right. Other than that, that is about it for our announcements for today. Oh yeah, by the way, we do have Scrum Night this coming Sunday, where I will be talking more about N8N and the work that my tech barbarians are doing. We will be meeting live. I will post it in the Patreon, and it's also in the Team Tech Coach Ralph Discord that if you are a Patreon member or a YouTube member, you do have access to. And lastly, anything else other than that? That is about it. I am going to be cutting up some more Scrum Nights to put in the Patreon. I do have to cut up another segment of the federal employment overview that Magnetar gave us. I got a lot of work to do, but I'm working through it. All right, just give me some grace. I am working through it. Okay. But yeah, that's about it. That is about it. Now, let's continue on. So I do want to give a big shout out to my guy Rod Brown. He technically went live on his channel yesterday, and he did an absolutely phenomenal job. So shout out to Rod Brown. All right, so that is about it. All right, so let's do this. Let's jump into the. Let me take this down. All right, so let's jump into. I'll just show you real quick the workflow that I was working on for the N8N application, just so you guys can have a little bit of context of the other stuff that I do. What I'm going to be showing at the Scrum Night on Sunday as I work on this more this coming the next couple of days, because our Scrum Night is going to be Sunday night, 6 p.m. Eastern time. So you don't want to miss it. The link to be able to participate in that is pinned to the top of the chat. It's in the description. Also, I have the content creation questionnaire that you will receive a special gift if you fill that out at the end. You'll get a special link. So check that out as well. All right, but let's do this. Let's jump over into this N8N. So I was working on this between yesterday and today, basically for a project that we are thinking about that we're working on, where it's supposed to help you with interview preparation, right? And basically, I use this when I'm helping people prepare for interviews, but it's really a manual process. So we've been working on putting together in the coaching group. We've been working together on putting together this little application. And I was like, oh, I wonder if we could do this with N8N, right? And I was able to. So I'll just show you the very, very first part of it, right? So if I do test workflow, what's going on here? Why not? Let me see what's going on. Refresh this. Huh. Interestingly enough. Respond to. Okay. So I was messing around with it. So let me take this off. So if we go to test workflow and it automatically creates this, you're not able to see it. Hold on. Let me do this. Let me see if this is going to work. All right. So, I did not do any HTML, right? I'm just going to show you a quick little thing. I just added this node onto the canvas, right? Form, N8N form, and then I configured it with whatever I wanted it to say. Let me stop listening. I configured it with whatever I wanted it to say. User sends in the job description. What's your name? And then please enter the job description, a text area. And when that was done, it comes out with something looking like this. And then when I submitted it, so I will take you through the workflow real quick, right? Just gonna give you a quick little preview. Let's do test workflow. Copy that, put that in here. And if I say, let's say TCR and a job description, let me find it out. Let me see, let me get me a job description. Just show you a little preview of this working. So I'm just going to copy this job description into here. It's a little preview of what I will be covering, and I'll go more in depth on Sunday during Scrum Night. But so submit, the form is submitted, the response is recorded. And if I go back over here, so you see it's going through the whole thing. And if I open over here, it's in the request to OpenAI, and it is getting all the details for me, right? So and I'm gonna act upon this, do other stuff with it. But I just wanted to show you like this is gonna take long to create, right? In Markdown code right here. It didn't take long to create. Next up, I need to put it on a web page. So, and I'm gonna do some more stuff with it, but I see a lot of potential, a lot of possibilities in this. So I'm still exploring this. Shout out to my guy Wave Nerd who put me up on game. All right, but just wanted to show you a little sneak preview of the type of things that we are working on with Team Tech Coach Ralph. Right, with Team Tech Coach Ralph. So let's get it. Let's go. All right, and speaking of, look who we have in the building. We have the one, the only Wave Nerd in the building. Says hello, good people in the chat and Tech Coach Ralph. What's up, Wave Nerd? How are you doing? So happy to see you here as usual. By the way, Wave Nerd, check your email. I sent you an email early this morning. Just just letting you know, just giving you a heads up. All right. All right, so let's get to work, though. Let's get to work. We're going to do 3 segments. If we finish early, then so be it. It's been a very, very long day. Hopefully we can finish early, but if not, it is what it is. But I do not want to go longer than 2 hours tonight, all right? So let's get it. Let's jump into it. Our first working segment.
It's time to do.
So I already have Metasploitable up and running. I have the what do you call it? PyCharm up and running. I have my unit test up and running. So the goal for today is we do want to add some unit tests around the ports And we do want to see how we can mock the IP and the ports, because we shouldn't have a machine always running in order to be able to actually make sure that our functionality is working. So we're going to look into mocking as well. So we need to be able to mock the IPs, mock the ports to say this is the response that I want once you hit these IP addresses and these ports, so that we don't need to always have some type of virtual machine up and running. All right, so that's the goal for today. So those two things, right? Add some unisets for the ports and find out how we can actually mock the IP address and the ports. Okay, so with that being said, let's get to work. Why don't we? Let's start off with this. We're going to start off over here, and I am going to say ifconfig, and this IP is 86.22 tonight. So if we were to do, so this one is 22, right? And we know that port 22 is going to be open. So let's go ahead and run this. And it passed successfully connected on port to this IP address on port 22, as we expected. So now what we want to do is let's just take this test right here, and I'm going to take some variations of that test. Give me a second. I'm going to take some variations of that test. So for the port, we already did 22. So we have the single IP. Let's say we do on this one. All right. So let's do port 22, and then we're gonna do the comma first, right? We're gonna do 22. So let's say single port, or let's say single IP, test single IP, and ports separated by comma, right? So that way so in the first one here, we're testing a single IP and a single port, right? In this one, we're doing, so let's just run through them one by one actually. Let's go and do it like this. I don't know if I need this one. Okay, yeah, we do, because that's what's setting it up, right? So here we have the so single IP, single port. Here we have IP separated by comma and single port. We have a range of IPs and a single port. So here we're going to do a single IP, and we're going to do a port separated by comma. So let's do 3306 for MySQL port. Let's go to so let's do that, and let's see how that one is going to respond. And boom, successfully connected on both of these. Let's do a random port. Let's do 3307, right? Because it shouldn't connect on 3307. Let's go do that one, and done. Perfect, right? So now, so we have two good ports and one bad port. Let's go ahead and copy this test again. Are these two? Oops. Let's copy that. And now if we say port 22. Let me do port 20 all the way to port 100, right? And if we were to, let's say, add port range, right? So if we run this one now, we should get, so look at that. So we pass in the range, successfully connected on port 21, 22, 23, 25. I think 25 is to receive mail. Or that could be STMP or SMTP. 53 and port 80. Port 80 is HTTP port, all right? But look at that. So we have our ports working. We have our IP working. We could also do, let's do a range of ports and a range of IP addresses. But to do that, we're going to need to, for now at least, we're going to need to start up another Metasploitable. Oops. Whoa. That's really big. All right, let's close that. So let's, so once this one loads up, we'll get a different IP for this one. And then we'll be able to, see, let's get the IP for this one, and then we'll be able to pass that IP address into it as well, to make sure, like, because right now we're making sure everything is working with valid IP addresses, but then we need to look into how we can do it with try to mock it. MSF admin. What? MSF admin. All right, there we go. All right, so let's clear that out and let's do if config. Jeez. And that is going to be, that's a weird IP address. 160. That's 65. That was .86. Hold on. Did I open the? Let's see what's going on. Oh, all right. So let's shut this one down. That's not the one that we wanted. We want this one. Is that one already up and running? Or we want this one. There we go. So with that, we should be able to get a better. We should get the IP address that we want for that one on this subnet. That other one would have worked too, but with the comma and not with the range, because that range would have been crazy. All right, so let's log into this one. And the cool thing about this is that we can have multiple of these Metasploitables running, multiple Kali Linux running, as long as you have the resources on your computer to be able to do that. All right, let's clear that out. If config. And we have, all right, so 86.24. Oh, that's perfect, because now we can do a range from 22 to 192, 168, 86.24. Let me make sure. Let me make sure what my IP address is on this computer, so I make sure I'm not .23 or something, right? Because that would be a catastrophe. Let's go here. So on this computer, let's do IP config. See that IP config. Get IFADDR. I think that's gonna be I'm at IF list. I think I'm EN0, right? There we go. EN0, and I am 8. I'm .39, so that's perfect, right? So if we do from 22 to 24, and we're doing from ports 0 to 100, we should get this right here on both, right? So let's go ahead and run. Wait a second. So we don't want to. Let me copy this. So this one right here is going to be a single IP, and this is the thing with unit tests. You're passing in variations of the test to make sure different combinations are going to work. So this one's going to be test range, test IP address range, and port range, which if this one should work, then this one should work, right? Or if the ones previous should work, then these should work. But you can never be too sure, so let's give it a try. And like I said, there's probably better ways to optimize this. I have to push it up because Don was asking me for it, so I should push it up to GitHub, and I'll make it available to everyone here as well. Because for me, this is throwaway code. I don't plan on ever really using it for anything. There are tons of applications that do this, but if anybody wants to take a look at how it was done, by all means, and my crazy thinking, by all means, go for it. All right. So let's go ahead and run this one. So this is going to be checking port IP address 22, 23, and 24, and is going to do from ports 20 to 100, right? And so on 22, we have all these found. 23, nothing found. 24, same thing that it found on this one, right? So, and that's what we expected to see, right? So that's correct. So so now here's the important part about the unit test, right? Now that we have unit tests, I guess I could add one other unit test, but I think I really think we're good with these, right? But I'll add one more just for its and giggles, right? Let's go and do IP address comma and ports comma separated, and you're gonna see why this is important, right? So let's say I change this to a comma, and I change. Let's say I'll do two more tests. IP address comma separated, and ports range. And then, so if I run this one, I should get the same results as the one before, but it's only going to be scanning these two. But then lastly, if I take this and I say port 20, 21, 22, 25, 53, and I take this off and I run that, let me say IP address separated ports, or IP address and ports, comma, separated, right? So now if I run this, and pretty much same results, right? It didn't find 20, but it found 21, 22, 25, 53. All right. So our results are good. Now, the importance of having these unit tests, right, is now if I go and I look at my code over here, and I say that this code, it's not the cleanest that it could be, right? And why is it not the cleanest that it could be? Well, that is because if we look at this one big, well, it's scanned multiple IP addresses, right? And it's doing a bunch of stuff in here, but ultimately it is calling this function right here, right? It's calling it in a few places. So this is like not the best software engineering practices that we're doing here. like IP and port scanner. If I go to IP and port scanner, right? Technically, I would want to IP and port scanner. I'd want to separate them, right? So let me see what we have. So it's going to scan socket. Where is it passing the IP? So here, well, no, I think this is good because this method takes one IP address and one port number, and that's how the socket connect works. So this underlying function here is actually good. It's actually a very simple function. That based on the return, it's doing something, right? And we have a timeout. So this function is actually good. This function right here is what kind of worries me. So here we're splitting. So scan, see, all right, so you see that scan multiple IP addresses. And in the scan multiple addresses, IP addresses, we're taking in the IP address and the port number. This is what I would want to separate over here, right? I would want to separate these. So if I say scan multiple IP addresses, I would want to, let's think. So if this up here is taking the port numbers, right? Are there any other port numbers being passed in afterwards? Because if comma is in port numbers, then the range of ports to scan is port numbers. That's split. And if dash is not in port numbers, then pass in this int port numbers. Else range of port numbers split by hyphen. And then I get to the IP addresses, right? So what I would want to do is have a different function for IP addresses and for port numbers. And then I can bring them into this function, and then I can call them into this function, right? So instead of being called like scan multiple IP addresses, it could be called perform network scan, right? That's what I'm thinking in my mind right now. So let's say I'm just gonna throw in a to do right here. Extract port number into its own function. And then over here, extract IP addresses into its own function. That's my thought for now, right? Or at least splitting out the IP addresses into their own function. Another thing that I have listed that we need to do is find a way to assert what's being printed out. All right, so let me clean this up over here. So if I wanted to, because at the end of the day, we are, once we get in here, for the IP address and the IP address to scan, we are going to be calling
Lunch break. Lunch break.
we're going to be calling the IP and port scanner. But you see how here we're calling in for comma and port numbers. And then here we're looping through the range of ports to scan. So where is that one coming from? Let me see. So that's coming all the way from up there. And then it's being passed in. You see how messy this code is though? This code is very, very messy. Maybe we should focus on cleaning up the code, like not cleaning up the code, but like finish it with the testing and the mocking, and then we'll see how can we optimize this functionality over here. So that's what we'll focus on today. We're gonna focus on our unit tests, making sure those are clean and give us good results, finding a way to assert them, and then if we have time today, we'll do that. We'll get into the cleaning up this method because it is very messy and confusing. And if not, we'll push that over to the next. All right, but it is now time for break. All right, so let's see what we got going on. I have a good topic for us to talk about during our first break and our second break, but let's see what we got going on. So let me see. Let me check the chat real quick. Wave Nerd says that the email was received. But afterwards, the phone forced a gangsta update on the iPhone with a "you have no SIM card" SOS. The technology can be your best friend or your worst enemy. We got the one, the only Rod, just Rod, in the building. What's up, Rod? I don't know if you caught it earlier, but I gave you your props and your flowers for your first quote unquote live stream last night. You did an amazing job. You are a natural. So shout out to you, just Rod. You can find them at youtube.com/@Rod-Brown. Please say the dash. Please say the dash. All right. But yeah, great job, Rod, yesterday. Just Rod. It's so hard to call you Rod. I'm telling you, it is hard for me to call you Rod. All right. So so please forgive me when I start going to call you Rod. All right. Let me get some water. All right, so we're going to jump into our first break time topic for tonight. But do me a favor, though. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know every time we go live and drop new content as well. TechWithDrive.dev, get access to exclusive, amazing content. We are going to be doing a lot of good stuff in there. I have this video that I'm editing, some stuff that I saw that I don't want to share on YouTube, but I'm going to be sharing in the TechWithDrive Patreon. Maybe I'll upload it as I don't know. Maybe I'll put it a YouTube members only video as well. I don't know yet, but it bothered me. Something bothered me, but Anyways, let's jump into this. So the first topic of our first break time topic, I want to talk about strategy. So I came across this article: strategies for using generative AI, artificial intelligence, in Agile. Right, especially around like user requirements, user stories, things of that nature. If you are a Scrum Master or looking to be a Scrum Master or a project manager, things of that nature, this can be a very helpful article. So we're going to jump over to it together. And here we go. I'm going to throw up 5 minutes on the clock so we can read that together. Okay, so this is brought to us by InfoWorld. And it says how to use generative AI for requirements gathering and agile user stories. So on this channel, I have a bunch of videos about user requirements, about agile stories, about Scrum practices, things of that nature. Really important stuff, right? Especially if you want to be in tech, because all aspects of tech are using agile. They're either using Scrum, Kanban, Safe, things of that nature. Like, so you really want to check out those videos and stay informed on the changes that are happening there. But this article is going to be talking to us about how generative AI can be used for the requirements gathering in the agile user stories, right? So generative AI can enable transformation and capabilities when organizations look beyond productivity drivers. Here's how agile teams are using generative AI to accelerate and improve requirements gathering and writing agile user stories. So generative AI is driving a significant paradigm shift in how developers write code, develop software applications, reduce technical debt, and improve quality for the most part. Generative AI isn't just writing code, and there are opportunities for the entire agile development team to use large language models, AI agents, and other generative AI capabilities to deliver improvements across the software development lifecycle. Improving requirements gathering and the quality of agile user stories is becoming a significant opportunity for generative AI as developers write code faster and efficiently. Deeper agile backlogs with more user stories and stronger acceptance criteria are needed. How AI copilots increase developer productivity. So developers use generative AI to transform software development, including generating code, performing code reviews, and addressing production issues. Barry's Dev reports that 72% of developers are now using generative AI capabilities, and 48% use generative AI tools daily. All right, so yes, it is being used a lot, but the thing is, right, and I'll give some more. I'll share some insight on this later. You you're not going to be as effective using generative AI if you don't know what you're talking about, right? So that's why, like, when people are talking about, oh, the vibe coding, like Rob Brown like to say, it's a vibe, right? But if you don't know what you're talking about, you won't even know what to ask it. So um, while people are like, oh, AI is going to take over our jobs, AI is only as good as the person who is prompting it, all right? It can help you and teach you some stuff, but to use it properly, you got to know what you're talking about, all right? Says, let's see, so AI copilots and generative AI code generators are impacting productivity significantly. A recent report based on field experiments with software developers at Microsoft and Accenture found that using a coding assistant caused a 26% increase in weekly number of completed tasks, a 13% increase in the number of code commits, and 38% increase in the number of times code was compiled. Developers are also reporting productivity impacts. According to a DORA 2024 State of DevOps report, more than one third of respondents described their observed productivity increases as either moderate 25% or extreme 10% in magnitude. Why requirement gathering is the new bottleneck. So, as agile development teams become more proficient with code generators, the velocity and quality of requirements gathering in agile user stories must increase. Additionally, the structure of agile user stories and the completeness of their acceptance criteria have become more important as developers use them to prompt AI agents to develop, test, and document code. In a world where co-pilots are writing code, planning will take on a much more important role, and the requirements documents must become more detailed than the days when teams sat together in the same room, says David Brooks, Senior Vice President of Evangelism at Copado. Business analysts will use generative AI to summarize future requests in meeting transcripts to capture all of the inputs and help prioritize based on the level of need. Generative AI can then write the first draft or review that human written draft for completeness to ensure it aligns with the company's format. The key to success is engaging end users and stakeholders in developing the goal and requirement around features and user stories. This engagement must go beyond the usual responsibilities of agile product owners. Software developers should engage stakeholders in understanding the objective, discussing risk, and devising experiments. So this part is crucial in software development because as developers, as QA engineers, we need to know what is being built, what are the requirements, what's being tested, and if a push is being made to use these tools like co-pilots and stuff like that to help with the testing, to help
Get a
with
move on. Back
the
to work. Chop, chop. Let's go. Come on. Get a move on. Back to work. Back to work. Back to work.
to help with the code generation, all of that stuff, then we need to make sure that we have clear acceptance criteria because like I said earlier, your generative code is only as good as the requirements that you put in. So it might while AI might give you a boilerplate, if you give it crap data, then AI is going to give you crap code. So you need to know what you're talking about. You need to be able to articulate your thoughts so that AI can do a good job for you. All right. So how generative AI improved requirements gathering. So Chris Maw, CEO of Prion, said generative AI is reshaping requirements gathering from a documentation exercise to a collaborative discovery process. Product owners now use AI to generate initial requirement drafts from stakeholder interviews, then refine them through feedback cycles. The business analyst role is evolving from documentation specialist to AI orchestrator, and success requires proficiency in prompt engineering and framing business problems to elicit optimal AI responses. So I think it is very, very important that everyone starts to look into prompt engineering, see how they can, how, what the right way is to get all that you need outside of AI, because the world will leave you. Like we will leave you behind. You will be left behind. All right. The business analyst partner with the agile product owner and team lead to oversee end-to-end requirement process. They are especially valuable for more technical agile teams working on microservices integrations and data pipelines, kind of the work that I do. User stories and these technical delivery deliverables have significant non-functional acceptance criteria, and testing often requires building synthetic test data to validate many use cases. All right, so let's see. So Mao adds the technology, as the technology excels at translating business needs into technical specifications and vice versa, bridging communication gaps. Critical thinking becomes essential as analysts must validate AI generated content for accuracy and business alignment. Critical thinking is a crucial skill that a lot of people don't have, set to develop as more requirements, code, and tests are developed using generative AI tools. Agile developers must learn how to ask questions, include the most important details in prompts, and validate the completeness and accuracy of generative AI responses. So, a lot of times people just put stuff in and then they just think, "Oh, that's the end of it." No, you have to and that's why when people say, "Oh, AI is going to replace this, AI is going to replace that," no, the thing is, you need to be subject matter experts in particular fields, because you need to be able to make sure, because AI will get it wrong, because it's the internet, right? Like, it's getting data from like whatever the model that it's using. So you need to be able to make sure that the information is right, and that requires you to be a subject matter expert in your field, right? Business analysts and product owners have new tools to accelerate translating conversations, brainstorming, and other meeting notes into ideas, epics, and features. Tamim Hurani, principal at RapDev, says by joining conference calls, analyzing them, and summarizing them, and extracting takeaways from them, you can suddenly groom backlogs for epics of all sizes. How generative AI supports rapid prototyping and faster delivery. A second opportunity for agile development teams is to use generative AI to reduce cycle times, especially around proof of concepts and iterating through end user experiences. Generative AI should help agile teams incorporate more design thinking practices and increase feedback cycles. So, like the N8N, for example, right? That is a great tool to prototype, because like what I was able to do in like 2 days, I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. Like, gave me a form right away. I was able to pass that into OpenAI to get some responses, and now I'm trying to get it from OpenAI to create me a web page with the information that I'm getting out of it, right? So much that you can do, and for me, that might be a great prototyping tool. Maybe even use it for selling applications to people. I don't know, right? So generative AI tools are fundamentally shifting the role of product owners and business analysts by enabling them to prototype and iterate on requirements directly within their IDEs rapidly. Says Simon Margolis, Associate CTO at SATA. Associate CTO. I never heard of that title. Associate CTO. Is there like an executive CEO? CTO? Anyways, this allows for more dynamic collaboration with stakeholders as they can visualize and refine user stories and acceptance criteria in real time. Instead of being bogged down in documentation, they can focus on strategic alignment and faster delivery with AI handling the technical translation. So it's kind of bridging the gap between the product owners who might not be very technical and the software developers who are or should be very technical, trying to bridge that gap, right? Says one opportunity is in the development of low code platforms that can generate applications from generative AI prompts. Platforms like Adobe, Appian, Pega, QuickBase, and SAP use generative AI tools to accelerate the prototyping and development of apps and agents. Use generative AI tools to focus more time on human innovation. So, and that's the part that people miss, right? Like, humans are always going to be in the loop. Humans will always be in the loop. Product owners and business analysts have more significant roles than grooming backlogs and documenting requirements. Their strategic importance lies in prompting innovation that matters to end users, delivering business value and creating competitive advantage. They must also adhere to DevOps and the DevOps non-negotiable standards, steer agile development teams towards developing platform capabilities, and look for ways to address tech debt. Tech debt. That tech debt will haunt you like crazy. All right. I think that's about. So yeah. Lastly, generative AI excels at aligning user stories and acceptance criteria with predefined specs and design guidelines, but the original spark of creativity still comes from humans. Says Ram Prakash. Oh my goodness. Ramamurthy, director of AI research at Manage Engine. Analysts and product owners should use generative AI as a foundational tool rather than relying on it entirely, freeing themselves to explore new ideas and broaden their thinking. The real value lies in experts leveraging AI's consistency to ground their work, freeing them up to innovate and refine the subtleties that machines cannot grasp. Lastly, generative AI can enable transformation capabilities when organizations look beyond productivity drivers. Agile development teams should use generative AI to accelerate and improve requirements gathering and write agile user stories. Generative AI provides the opportunity to streamline these tasks and improve quality, leaving more time for product owners and business analysts to increase focus on where technology provides lasting value to their organization. Please let me know in the comments or in the chat, how do you use generative AI at work? Are you using it for, like, are you, first, what industry are you in? Two, how are you using it in your industry? Are you using it for user stories, for code generation? Are you a vibe coder? It's a vibe. But yeah, let me know. I am curious to know how you are using generative AI in your day-to-day life. Does it help you get faster at work? Do you think it actually slows you down? Do you not trust generative AI? I'm curious. Let me know in the comments and in the chat. All right, but we are gonna go back to full screen so we can get back to another segment of work. All right. Let me check the chat first and then we will get back to work. So, Rod Brown says, appreciate it, bro. No, Rod Brown. You know that.
I appreciate you.
I appreciate you, Rod Brown. Keep up the great, amazing work. Looking forward to that solo live stream where you are running the gamut, whether you're taking calls or whether you're just talking and sharing your insight, interacting with the chat. We just want to talk to Rod Brown. We just want to talk to Rod Brown. We just want to talk to Rod Brown.
Let's get it.
Wave Nerd is smiling. Kuya, what's up, Kuya Nimbus? How are you doing today? It has been a minute, and it is always a pleasure to have you in the house.
We the best.
I am doing phenomenal. How are you doing? Hopefully you're doing amazing as well. Wave Nerd says creativity, ideas with critical thinking is the way. That's what I'm talking about.
We the best.
And Kuya Number says this is the way. And I'll tell you this. So yesterday at work, we had a QA meeting where it was focused on generative AI and how different ways that it's being used in the company and different ways that we can use it in QA and stuff like that. And then today we had a special overview / training session on Slack AI, how that's used and how we can use it in order to optimize our workflow so that we can focus. I think that AI, if you do not rely on it as a crutch, it can be a very, very useful tool to help you get so much more work done. All right. Queen Number says, AI can be beneficial for automating small tasks, but can also be harmful. That is true. Was in a ISC2 Bright Talk chat with some people in Singapore a few months back, um, when they mentioned Copilot. If you use Copilot and someone else can use a similar query, it can have certain people have need to know info that should not need to know. That's a good point because it's being added to the large language. Like, so here's what you gotta understand with AI, right? Let's say whenever you submit something to it, right? Even if it's an internal, like let's say the Copilot is limited to your company, right? And it's learning your code and stuff like that. But all of it's being trained on your data, so all of that is being saved and stored and stuff like that. So um now it depends on how they set up the security permissions and stuff like that. But like Cleo Nimbus is saying, it can be a little bit tricky. It can be a little bit tricky.
Bruh.
You definitely have to be careful. You definitely have to be careful. All right. But we're gonna jump into our next working segment, and then we will go to another article about what is the other article about? Oh, about crazy supervisors, right? And then we will finish up, right? So Creative also says should be role based. Exactly. So from the Slack AI meeting, what they said to us was, well, I don't know if we have this feature, but what they were saying is their search thing is going to be role based. So if you didn't have access to it in your whatever um, access that you should have, then you're not going to be able to get it from Slack. So that's going to be interesting as well. But anyways, let's jump into our next working segment.
Let's go! Let's go!
All right. So what we want to do here is I want to go back to my test. And something that we were trying to do the other day was assert that to do inter assertions. So we're trying to say, all right, if we run this, so if I do, let's say 21 to 26, right? And here's the reason that we need to also mock this is because the IP addresses are going to change every time, and we can't go into our test and always be changing the IP address. So we need set data that we can run through, and that's why we're going to need to mock it. But something that we're trying to do the other day was we were trying to make sure that it's giving us the right information. So one thing that we tried to do was try to do an assertion, but that assertion did not really. So what we're trying to do is when it gives you this right here, we wanted to verify that, right? That it's showing up in the console. So I'm trying to think. I know we could do it for a single, but if it's looping through each of them, I'm trying to think about that. So let's do this. Let me search for. I mean, there's a few ways we could do this. We could say we can return something, and if we return something, if we return it, we can validate the return. Then we don't have to try to validate the print output. unless you want the print output to be validated. So let me do it. Let's do a search real quick. Validate Python or assert Python print message. Or Python validation. So message validation in Python ensures data, specifically user input, conforms to expected formats and values before further processing. So I want to validate this right here. I wonder. Or I could say Python how to validate print function. Let's see what that does. To validate the message printed by print function, several approaches can be employed depending on the context of the testing. Redirect SDT out. This method involves capturing the output of the print function by redirecting the standard output stream sys dot. I think we tried this last week to a different destination, such as string.io. This allows for inspection of the validation of the printed message. So io sys. So this is saying print the message, and then there's a function in here. Expected output, captured output is io.string.io. Sys SDT out is captured output. What is this function right here? So test print message is this right here. And then we're passing in my function. So we're passing in this function right here. So I could just pass in. Oh, that's the assertion. Okay. I guess print my so test print message, passing in a function, expected output, and they're passing in the function right here. Captured output is io.string. But I think when we did that, when we tried that, we got a bunch of code that we didn't technically need. Let me try it at least. Let's try it, see what happens. So I'm going to do it on this one. Let's go to I'm just typing my function for now, just to, because this is going to be well, I should pass this in actually. So if we say captured output equals io.string.io, and we say sys.std out equals captured output, and we say actual output equals captured output dot get value dot slow strip, And I guess this function has to go above this one, above the sys.out. And I'm just gonna throw a print actual output just for the fun of it. And then assert. Just so I can differentiate the two, I'm gonna say f string, say actual output. All right, and here I'm gonna say actual output is equal to I guess here I should have expected output, and then we got here, oh no, I don't need this one over here. I says equal to, let's just copy that on port 22, right? So this is basically saying that it's successfully connected to this port on port 22 is what we would expect the actual output to be. Oops. All right, let me run it, see what happens. Ports fixture not found. Let me see. I don't think I need this, to be honest with you. Let's try that again. So this one, unbound method. Let me see what. Let me do another print for. Oops. Captured output. I'm just trying to see what this is doing. So it's getting stuck over here. It's saying type error. Descriptor right for IO string doesn't apply to an str. So if we say get value, let's see what this one does. Unbound needs an argument. What does that mean? It needs an argument? Okay. So if I just do captured output, I get a different error. So captured output gives me object does not apply, right? But if I do get value, I get a different error. And then here I get strip. But if I run this, I get value needs an argument. All right, let's search for this real quick. Unbound message. All right, so this was for string IO. So what is an unbound method? Let's see. Python, what is an unbound method? My class dot my method. Okay, so if we were to take off so what if we did that? What will we get? We would get does not apply to a string. And that would be still here. So if we said strip, get value, retrieve the entire content of the object. What if I just take all this off? So it's not a string, see, it as a string. It still doesn't play nicely with it. Interesting. So maybe that's not the right way to do it then. All right. I can live with that. The other thing they said that we could try is mocking the print function. For more complex scenarios, especially in unit testing, the print function can be mocked using libraries like unittest.mock. This enables verification of whether the function calls with the expected arguments. Let me see. I mean, using assert statements. So using assert, the value is, that's not really. All right, so let's try the other thing I was thinking about. Think about just returning something, because we don't, I mean, we do, but we don't. So let's go to the bare bone, which is in here. Oh wait, we do have a return here. Return, so we do have a return. So that's what I was thinking about doing. So I did add this. But while we're returning this here, what are we returning to? So we could say What if we say, but if we do a return, wouldn't that break the loop? I'm trying to think. Would that break the loop if we do a return here? Because it would be like trying to return. I mean, that's why we have our unit test though, right? Let me see if I just add a bunch of returns, and this is why we have unit tests, because this might break a bunch of stuff. So if we go to here, and let's say we run this one over here. Say I only did one when it should have did a bunch because we returned it. Didn't even give us anything. But if we take off the return, now everything passes, right? So we can't use a return. We got to, how could we say, how can we validate that? So I'm thinking about like how we can actually validate the values that are being returned to us, because just doing this is just gonna tell us what it found, what it didn't find. But something needs to be returned from scanning multiple IP addresses. I guess we could do a
Lunch break! Lunch break!
I don't know. We'll use AI. We'll use AI to when we come back from break, we'll use AI to see what could we do to get the information that we're looking for. Anyways, let's go to break. Let me see. Let me check the chat real quick, and then we'll talk about something else, and then we will go to the next part. All right. Let's see. We have my guy Magnetar in the building. Magnetar says, I'm late. Did you say federal or government at all? I guess I just did now because I did not mention federal or government at all earlier.
Bruh.
That's probably why you're late, because if I had said it, you would have heard it from a mile away and you would have been running over here. So it's my fault. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna start every stream by just saying federal government, and then Magnetar will be here right away. Wager says Slack for human in the loop reports assessment from agents. MCP human issues confirmation to all or specific agents for completion of tasks. Yeah, Slack added a lot of features into their AI from what I saw today. Really cool stuff. Let me see. Okay, that's it. All right, so what we're gonna talk about in the second break. So I came across this. I didn't really look too much into it yet, but you know what, Magnetar, you came at the perfect time, because Magnetar will take the. You know what, Magnetar? I just thought about this. I know you are a heavy proponent for federal work, but not everybody can work a federal job, because that would just be like crazy. Anyways, you just had me thinking about that, because I know you're going to talk about the private sector once we read this, once we go through this article, right? But on this break, we're going to be talking about are these supervisors out of control? Are these supervisors out of control?
Congratulations, you played yourself.
All right, let's jump into this now. Let's see. Let's see. All right, so let me zoom in, and then we're gonna switch over to this. All right, let's go over here. And so this one, it says that a supervisor tells employee not to bother coming in, even if they are 5 minutes late. All right, so let's start reading. It says, let me zoom in a little bit more. Can I zoom in some more? Let's see. All right, there we go. So so this is brought to us by Chesburger or Cheeseburger. I don't know. It says new supervisor tells employee not to bother coming in to work if he's even 5 minutes late. He just turns around and goes home every time he gets stuck in traffic, prompting a reversal of the rule. I won't be coming in. So one of our most unfortunate things that can happen in any job is the departure of a trusted boss with whom you have an excellent rapport and mutual respect. All that history is gone in the blink of an eye, leaving you to navigate a new dynamic with someone who might have an outlook that isn't congruent with what was formerly the status quo. I will say this though. I will say this. Sometimes the higher ups, they don't like what the person who is leaving was doing or how they were managing it with that status quo. So they hire somebody who is actually opposite of the status quo to get the team, the group in the light that they want it to be in. So you got to keep that in mind as well, right? You have to keep that in mind. It says now you're starting from square one, left to rebuild your most crucial working relationship with a new personality with whom you might clash. The banter is gone, and the entire balance of the office has been turned on its head. The worst outcome is that you get some new upstart manager with an ego and a chip on their shoulder, desperate to prove their worth in their new role by making as many changes as possible, putting into place a whole slew of foolish new rules that don't have the effect they were intended to. It's often been said that the best way to get rid of a foolish rule is to strictly adhere to it, proving its foolishness through the consequences associated with it. Of course, it would be much easier just not to pass the rule in the first place, but if every new supervisor weren't meddling in things they didn't understand, then they'd be out of things to do. So let's see what this one is talking about, right? So the first one. I didn't even start the timer. Let me start anyways, right? It says, if you're late again, don't bother coming in. So I didn't. In the chat, in the comments. If your new supervisor told you, if you're late again, don't bother coming in, are you gonna be a no call, no show? Are you gonna text and say, hey, I'm late. You said don't bother coming in. I'm not coming in. How is that gonna work out? It says, if you're late again, don't bother coming in. So I didn't. So you used to have this chill supervisor, understood traffic happens, life happens as long as work got done. Then we got a new guy, corporate type, obsessed with punctuality culture. First week he calls me into his office. You've been 5 to 10 minutes late a few times. That won't fly anymore. If you're late again, don't bother coming in at all. I asked if we could talk about adjusting my shift slightly. I work late most days anyways. He cuts me off. We have to maintain standards. No exceptions.
Bruh.
All right then. Next Monday, I hit traffic. GPS says I'll be 12 minutes late. So I didn't go in. I took the day. Sent an email following your guidance. Late again, so I won't be coming in. No reply. No reply. I did it again on Thursday. Oh my God. Same deal. Light traffic delay. Stayed home. HR finally emails me like, are you planning to return to work? I forwarded them his exact words and no edits. Suddenly, there's a clarification meeting. Apparently, the policy was miscommunicated. I'm welcome back, and minor delays will now be handled with understanding. Guess he didn't expect me to follow the instructions that well. I had a company do that to me once. They set a policy of points, and the points were the same, being late or not coming in. I was never late, except one day I got stuck on the wrong side of a train and no place to turn around, so I called out. Then they got upset because I was the only guy on my shift who did my job. I think there's a bigger problem if you're the only guy on your shift that does your job. I think they might be exaggerating. Just a tiny bit exaggeration right there, right? Not is it like this? Not my problem. This one says, I knew a person that was a great worker but was often late, long commute. They adjusted his shift start time by half an hour but didn't immediately tell him, so he was always on time even though he thought that he was ooh, sneaky, sneaky, sneaky.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
In my high school, the punishment for being 1 second late was identical to the punishment for being 5 hours late. I can't tell you how many times I heard the bell ring for my first class while I was walking to it, turned right around and put my books back in the locker and left to go spend my morning at the park reading a novel or getting some coffee or something and watching the river roll by. Then I'd roll back into school a little after lunch. Okay, that one I do agree with. I would do that because if being 1 second late is the same punishment as being 5 hours late, then I might as well just be 5 hours late. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. All right.
Ain't believing us.
Let's see. This one says, way to handle the new guy efficiently. I had a similar thing years ago while a student working part-time in a restaurant. The restaurant closed for refurbishing refurb for renovation. What's a refurb? Okay, you don't refurb a restaurant, but and all staff had a weekend of training on new standards. First day, the guy of taking the training went on a rant about the importance of punctuality and said that anyone arriving late wouldn't be allowed to enter. I don't think for the restaurant industry that might work too well because then you might be severely understaffed and that is going to be tough. I hit traffic on the second day of training, so turned around and went home. Had a phone call asking my whereabouts, and I explained. They asked me nicely to please make my way there, so I did in time for the afternoon. Nice morning though. It says the plant called and they said if you don't come in today, don't bother coming in on Monday. Woohoo! 4-day weekend. Best way to remove a ridiculous rule is to strictly enforce it. All right, that's enough of that. That is enough of that. But my question is, do you really think people can get away with this? Like, are jobs that lenient where you just like no call, no show? I don't know. For me, I always like companies make rules, right? People make rules, but a lot of times, like through communication and stuff like that. But I don't know. I just think that you can end up putting yourself in a really really bad light, and now you have a target on your back, where like, oh, this person is, and especially with a new supervisor. Me personally, I just don't like to make enemies. I do not like to make enemies, right? So I'm like, all right, if and I like to me personally, I like to adhere to the working conditions, the working agreement set. So if it's that like, all right, we were lenient before, now we want you to be on time. I'm gonna be on time, right? I'm not gonna be playing these games. I remember Jocko Willink talks about if you're on time, then you are late. I don't know. So I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. Anyways, I'm curious to know your thoughts. I'm gonna check the chat and see what do you guys think. Do you think that these supervisors are going too far, or do you think these employees are going too far? Do you think that if you were an employee, you could actually pull this off? All right. So, anyways, let's go back to the chat, and we will get to our last segment after that. All right. Let me see what the chat has to say. Where were we at? We got my guy in the building. What's up, Junior? Let me read these chats in order. So Magnus says ready, willing, and able to snitch on someone. I got you, man. I knew you meant on. Says, oh, now you get what I mean because not everyone can also thrive in the public sector or be an entrepreneur. I McIntyre, you're gonna get me in trouble. You are gonna get me in trouble. I was about to say something that was not gonna be the nicest thing in the world, but I bit my tongue and now it's bleeding. All right. Megan says, like I've said, I've offered help with government workers if people were having trouble lock down private sector work. That's all. Don't save them. They don't want to be saved. We got my guy in the building. Junior says, what's up? What's up? What's up, family? What's good, Junior? How are you doing tonight? Happy to see you as usual. I saw your pull-ups on IG, Junior. Crazy work. Shout out to you. I'm still, my shoulders are still hurting from that shoulder twisting that you're doing. I was like, man, I need to get me some new shoulders. Manager says, like I've said, I've only offered to help for finding public sector work if people were having problems locking down. Just trying to show there could be another route. I hear you. Let's see. Junior says, just take the day off. That's what they did. Shout out to Gorika. Shout out to you for subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
Let's see. Junior says that this person is habitually late. They are habitually late. Like on Tuesday and then on Thursday as well. In the same week. My goodness. Megan says all of this could be worked out professional. That's what I'm thinking, right? Like, I don't know. I think we're just prone to make enemies, McIntyre. We are just prone to make enemies when a lot of times it could just be resolved professionally with the conversation. And if you're late, you shouldn't be late, right? Things happen, but if it's always repetitive, that's when companies like start to get annoyed by it. You know, that's when managers start to get annoyed by it because I'll tell you this. Here's why. I'm gonna make my case for why you should not be late, right? Because when you have a time that people are expecting you to be somewhere, right? Then they're gonna like that's the time that we've agreed on. That's the contract, the unwritten. I mean, it is a written contract as well, but the unwritten contract that the team has agreed on, so that if I need you between the hours of, even if you're working remotely, right? Especially if you're working remotely, if I need you between the hours between 10 and 5, right? I shouldn't have to be wondering where you're at. Or let's say it's a shift change. I've heard countless times where, like, especially nurses, right? The nurse is supposed to get off at, like, let's say 7:30 in the morning, but they can't leave because the other nurse that's supposed to come in and replace them, relieve them, they haven't shown up, and that's not fair. So I understand why managers can be frustrated with lateness, and I understand why the person hiring the new manager can go out of their way to find a stickler because they might not be happy with the way that the previous manager was running things before. So take that into consideration, right? Manager says, in my experience, no call, no show always looked down upon. Facts. You get fired for that. You would get definitely fired for that. Magner says, I'm about to suplex the autocorrect. I got you, Magner. I got you. Junior says, I used to be at least 30 minutes to an hour early every day, and I wasn't getting paid for it, but I loved my job. Look, and I'll tell you this, right? Because I would be in the same situation where, like, just I would end up being there early. And it's funny because when you live further away, you get there early because you don't know if you're gonna run into traffic and stuff like that. When you live close by, that's when you normally end up getting there late. It's crazy, right? But because you think you have more time. But what like I wouldn't like sometimes when I get there early, I wouldn't just start working. I would let's say I have other things to do, right? So maybe I'll bring my computer and I'd or I'll sit in the car and I'll listening to something, and then like 10 minutes before I actually start working, I'd go in at that time so that I can actually work that out. Especially if you're an hourly employee, right? If you are a salaried employee, you can go in and get your work done, and then now while you're at work, you can chill and take it easy as opposed to like super focused like and but as long as you're there, So there's that as well. Drew says, just work on your shoulders and they'll be good again. Make tech coach Ralph's shoulders great again. Wavener says, working on a clock to me is slavery. Another person has authority over me because of a job title. No bueno. I I don't mind. I don't mind. I don't mind either way. Because guess what? Guess what? Working on your own, you're just a slave to yourself and to your customers. So I don't see it as slavery or not slavery either way. I see it as working to get the bag by whatever capabilities and skills and means that you have possible. That's how I see it. I don't mind because working for yourself, you're still working for somebody, and you're working for all of your customers as well. So, um, I mean, working on the clock sometimes, like you don't have to be up at 2 o'clock in the morning to do this and to do that. If servers go down, you have to be up in Atom. So it's I like doing both. I like doing both. I like to get my benefits from my day job, and I like to be innovative on my night job. All right. Let me see. Oh, I missed one. Junior says, I used to send people home for being late if it was a regular thing. Put them AWOL. Junior says, I was close to work, about 15 to 20 minutes away, local street, so never really had to deal with traffic. Lucky you. Traffic down here in South Florida is crazy. To be honest, your spray is going to be working for some. You're always going to be working for somebody. Customers are the boss. That's a good point. Says, I was late every morning for 2 years opening restaurants. Worked another job. You see, like opening up a restaurant, that is tough to be late. Like, especially physical place where you have to actually open the building and stuff like that. Can't be late in those. Facts. Either way, you'll be taking orders from someone and needing to get paid by them. Yep, that's so for me. I'm flexible. I just like to work. I like to do cool things, whether it's for myself, as you see I do on this channel, or whether it is for a company where they have the ideas and I'm putting it together because it's their idea and they're paying me to build it, to test it, all that good stuff. So I have no problems with that, as well as I love building stuff for myself, working with people, working with Wave Nerd, working with Magnetar, working with Junior, working with Rod Brown, working with everybody, right? So that's my thoughts about that. All right. So when we got 20 minutes left of the show, let's do something. Let's do something. All right. So let's go ahead and let's do one last working segment.
It's time to do.
So what I'm gonna do, let me look for, go to Chat GPT, and I am going to search for, what are some strategies to validate unit test for a port scanner app I built in Python? And this is the reason why it is important to use test-driven development, because if we had written our tests first, we wouldn't be in the situation right now. That's why I love TDD, because now we done went to like writing the application first, and now we are having trouble validating it.
Bruh. Congratulations, you played yourself.
Rod, do you use test-driven development by any chance? Do you use test-driven development? Although Rod Brown says that he barely cares about his QA test. You just be sending him bad code left and right. I'm just kidding. Rod Brown did not say that. Rod Brown did not say that. I am putting words in Rod Brown's mouth. He did not say that. All right. So I was just kidding. All right. All right. So it says all right. Validating unit tests for a port scanner app in Python involves ensuring that tests are not only checking functionality but are isolated, repeatable, and meaningful. Here are let me zoom in on this. Here are practical strategies to help you validate and improve your unit tests, right? So, port scanners involve socket operations that reach out to network. You should not make real network calls in unit tests. That's a fact, right? So that's what we want to do. So use unit test.mock to patch socket.socket.connect or socket.create connection. Simulate open, close, and timeout scenarios. So that's what we want to do. So if we look at this socket.socket.connect, we're going to be mocking that. And we would say test open port. And that would say mock connect dot return value equals none. No error open port. And this would be assert scan on this port equals true. And this would say error close port equals false. All right, so how does that fit into? Are we importing socket here because it is here? Mock connect side effect socket dot error. Okay, so it's being used here. All right, so test edge cases, invalid IP address, port out of range, makes sense. Timeout scenarios, host unreachable or DNS resolution. Use a dummy local server for integration test layer. Oh, that could work. Using to complement unit tests, spin up a local TCP server on a random port only for integration testing. A function dummy server that port and takes a parameter of port s socket localhost port listen in test setup threading dot thread target dummy server args then scan port 12345 in your test. Measure test coverage conditions port range loops error handling. Assertions beyond true false. Go beyond true false. Assert that timeouts are respected with self.assert raises, socket timeout. Assert the scanner skips ports outside the range. Assert the scanner returns the correct list of open ports for mocked hosts. Test for performance warnings. Hosted as a resolve. Invalid port type, string output. That makes sense. Use parameterized test. Makes sense. Validate against known output. Test your test. So, the one that I'm thinking about now, at least, is over here. Mock connect return value. So, patch socket.socket.connect. And port scanners involve socket operations that reach out to the network. You should not make a real network call in unit tests. Instead, use the mock to patch that or socket.create connection. And I think we're using socket.socket.connect. So if we patch that and we say scan port, so is that actually using a port or not? Simulate open close timeout scenarios. So let me see something. So if we go over here and so wait, what is scan port though? Okay, so scan port would be the function that's doing the scanning, right? So if we were to do, let's go here, close that down. So let's get rid of all this over here. Undo all of that. All right, so if we were to say up here, at patch, am I using patch anywhere in here? I am. I'm using it over here. Scanner. So, okay, so that's what's controlling that. So if we go here then at patch and we say socket dot connect. Let me look in this code over here though. Socket dot socket. And then scanner dot socket. So let's do scanner dot socket, scanner underscore socket connect. So what if we do this right here? Or is it this one? No, it should be this right here. And then if we were, so we got this. And if we were to do I think the difference though is, let me see something. I don't know if that's gonna work. I think the problem that we have is that when we're looking over here, it's not telling us the, let me see if I could do, what code would you use for the scan port function? Let's see how they do that. Let's see, basic synchronous version. So scan port takes in a host with a string, a port with an integer, a timeout with a float, attempts to connect to the specified host and port. Okay, so scan port, and inside of that with socket.socket, set the timeout, return true, return false. Example usage for port in range 79 to 83. So they're setting the host as this for port in range 79 to 83. Result equals scan port, print port I see. So they're putting it in the main function, and they are saying, so they're testing this scan port and they're printing it out in here. That makes sense. It does make sense. Scan port is returning true or false. But when you pass in the port over here, interesting. They're hard coding this, which is, I wouldn't, that's not a, I mean, that wouldn't want to do that. But I see. Open if result, else close. So the way that they did it, theirs is more, so the one that I did works, but it's not very testable. But from here, they're just doing a true or false. Thinking. Let's see. Let's think. I like how they did it though. Right. So if I'm here and so I don't need this one, but how do I mock it so that it doesn't, let me see. Because like I said, you don't want to have a real server up and running. None. No error. Oh, okay, I see. So the problem is we're not returning anything. So that's why we can't have a clean test on it, because we're not returning anything. So all right, so let's do this. We can say, let me do this, to do issues with validating because the function isn't returning anything. Which means that in here, so any place where we're returning something is here, right? And we don't necessarily want to do that here. We would want to say, so I'm going to put a to do then. What if we return the IP port number and or I guess we could do return to true. If we return, I mean, if we do return a true here, then I don't want the looping to get out of the, because this is where it gets really messy in here. But we could technically test this function right here. Right? So instead of testing get port to scan, or get port to scan, what is that? Oh, get port to scan, get IP address list to scan. And then we're passing. We could, so let me say, should we be testing instead? Should we be testing this instead? Because if we are testing that one, we would validate here because that's being returned. We could do return false here. Not added now, I'm just thinking out loud. So here, or should it just be true? And then we handle the messages externally. So if we take it one layer up, it's being called here. And here it's returning a yes or a no. And then we still take it. My bigger concern is all of this code over here. That's what worries me. That's what I want to validate. That's why I want to validate this function here. Because taking in the IP and the port number, it's already messy. I'm going to delete a bunch of this code over here so I can be cleaner to understand. Let's see. Because all this code, that gets messy. See, like all this IP address stuff. IP address. If, see, all these if statements. I don't like them. See, it's calling this in here. Too many if statements. IP address that you want, get port to scan. And then it's going to be sending multiple IP addresses, goes in here. IP address, passing the IP addresses and the ports that you passed in as a
Lunch
list.
break! Lunch break!
And then it starts doing its thing. Doing all this stuff just to get to this part. I got to think about it. We'll clean it up. We shall clean it up. But that is it for tonight. That is it for tonight. That's me thinking through this stuff. Not a avid port scanner, I must say, but I'll figure out this code. I'll see what we'll do next week, if we're gonna stick with this or if we're gonna move on with the class. I'm inclined to move on, but we shall see. Anyways, let's see what we got going on in the chat before we get up and out of here. Nothing new. All right, cool. So as we wrap it up for today, let's do this real quick. Tomorrow, we are going to be talking about a major cryptocurrency heist. Yes, we are. That's on tomorrow's episode of The Bug Bite at noon Eastern Time. Looking forward to seeing you in the chat as well as in the comments. Let's see what happened. Sunday, we're going to be going live again with our DevOps, and Sunday night we're going to be doing Scrum night. And I'm gonna be
real simple, B. It says wrap it up. Wrap that shit up, B.
I'm going to be exploring some more of N8N based on the application that we are working on, our Tech Barbarians. But that's it for tonight. That is it for tonight. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Truly, truly appreciate you. Do me a favor on your way out if you haven't done so already. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know every time we go live and drop new content as well. TechWithDrop.dev. Sign up today, get access to exclusive content, get access to meetups that we do, a bunch of cool stuff. All right. And on our way out, Junior says, great show as usual. Thank you so much, Junior. Shout out to you as always. Appreciate you being here all the time. Thank you so much.
We the best.
And that means we're gonna get out of here. Wave Nerd says 100. Thank you so much, Wave Nerd. You are the gift that keeps on giving, because I have learned in the short amount of time that I've known Wave Nerd, I have learned a lot, and I just see things. We're going to be doing some amazing things, all right? So with that being said, I'm going to get out of here. You guys have an amazing night. See you guys tomorrow in the chat for the bug bite, and see you guys on Sunday for DevOps. Tech Coach Ralph, we are out.
They said I wouldn't make it, they laughed at my dream. Every move I made felt like swimming upstream. But yesterday I met a fan, eyes full of belief. In their gaze I saw the end to my grief.
Doubt didn't win, trust began. Looked in the mirror, saw my biggest fan. Heart beats like a drum, fight through the span. Kept on pushing, now I'm the man.
Folks called it trash, said I'd never thrive. Every word I spat, cut deep like a knife. Thought my wings were clipped, stuck in a dive. But mirrors don't lie, I saw myself alive. I put in all the hours, climbed out from the dirt. They dissed and dismissed, said I'd always get hurt. Met a fan so loyal, reflections don't lie. My biggest supporter is just me in my mind.
Through the noise and shadows I held my ground. Bumps, bruises, broken, no comfort found. But that fan smile turned my world around. Now I'm rising sky high above the sound.
Doubt didn't win, and trust I began. When I looked in the mirror, saw my biggest fan. Heart beats like a drum, fight through the span. Kept on pushing, now I'm the man.
From the ashes I flew, they can't dim my flame. Every mocking voice only fed my aim. Yesterday showed me it's not just a game, 'cause in my reflection I found my name.
Folks called it trash, said I'd never thrive. Every word I spat, cut deep like a knife. Thought my wings were clipped, stuck in a dive. But mirrors don't lie, I'm the man.
From the ashes I flew, they can't dim my flame. Every mocking voice only fed my aim. Yesterday showed me it's not just a game, 'cause in my reflection I found my name.
Folks called it trash, said I'd never thrive. Every word I spat, cut deep like a knife. Thought my wings were clipped, stuck in a dive. But mirrors don't lie, I'm the man.